Today I'm going to show you how to replace just the glass on an iPhone 6. If you want to see me take apart the phone, go ahead and click the link in the upper left hand corner. I have already taken off the back metal plate, the home button, the earpiece, and now the little plastic bit for the camera, the rubber piece for the earpiece, and the little plastic square up top. You will be using these on your new glass when you install it. Be super careful with these little ribbon cables here. If you tweak or bend them too much, they will stop working. Grab a heat gun and heat up your screen uniformly across the whole surface so you don't have any hot spots. Between 70 and 95 degrees Celsius is what's worked for me in the past. If you have a little laser temperature sensor, it's really easy to keep the temperature where you need it to be. Now, I tried removing just the frame because with the iPhone 5 and 5C and 5S, that's how you would do a just a glass repair. But on this phone, the frame is very securely glued to the glass and does not come off. Unfortunately, it makes this repair much harder. So I took some of the smaller shards of glass and lifted them out with my razor blade. You can see that I'm sliding the razor blade underneath the glass, not lifting up too high. You don't want to create a teeter-totter effect and put too much pressure on the digitizer underneath. It's literally as fragile as an eggshell. Now that I have a slightly wider opening, I can take my playing card and use it to separate the glass from the LCD because of the heat that we've put on it before has kind of liquefied the glue. So using the combination of razor blades, heat, and playing cards, we're going to accomplish this whole repair. Anyways, heating the phone back up to its safe temperature range again. Remember, if you go too hot, you're going to burn the LCD, so make sure to heat it up. If it's too hot to touch, you probably went too far with the heat. I'm taking the card and sliding it between the frame and the glass, and it's super important to remember that no matter how boring I get during this repair, you're probably going to want to watch the whole thing because I'm going to be dropping tips the whole way. Now that we're away from the LCD and digitizer, I can use my knife a little more comfortably. I'm going to make a slot between the frame and the glass so I can slide my card, because it really does make the repair a whole lot easier once you don't have to deal with that frame in the way. The card can slide between the glass and LCD. So I'm going to heat the phone back up. The phone cools down, obviously, pretty quickly, so I'm going to be heating it up about every 30 to 40 seconds. Just so I can stay within that safe range. You can see that as the phone starts to cool down, the card doesn't slide as well between the glass. I could speed this part up, but then you wouldn't realize how slow and meticulous this whole process is. Plus, removing tiny shards of glass from an extremely fragile digitizer has got to be on pretty much everyone's bucket list. So consider yourselves lucky to be blessed with this fascinating spectacle as you embark on a journey of a lifetime. Also, don't plan for the perfect replacement. Even though mine worked, it was not completely perfect. This repair is best if you are already planning on buying a new screen anyway, and you just want to try just the glass repair for kicks and giggles, and not as a first plan of action. Now just grab your heat gun and heat that phone up to the correct temperature again. You can see that I'm still between the frame and the glass, so taking off this big chunk right here is pretty easy, because I don't have to deal with the frame. Honestly, a year or two down the road, it might just be worth it to buy a whole screen and not deal with just a glass swap. It would be more cost effective to buy the whole screen as a unit. The prices of the screens do drop over time. You can check the price of current screens down in the video description below. Now, if you look up in the corner, you can see another link to a video I made last year called Tips and Tricks, 3 common mistakes that people make when replacing just the glass. I do recommend watching that if you are serious about doing this repair yourself. I talk about things to avoid while working on your phone. Plus, it's interesting because I actually break screens in that video. That video was very expensive to make at the time. As I'm getting towards the edge of the frame, I take my razor blade and slide it between the glass and the frame, and this does make it a little bit easier to get the card between the LCD and the glass. Once again, that frame is really hard to work with. It's a shame that it's glued on so tight. So this repair is really hard. Chances are you're going to just be working along, minding your own business, when out of the blue your LCD is going to snap and you're going to think, holy cow, that jerry-rig guy was right. This digitizer's really fragile. If you lift up too high on this edge, it's going to drive the other edge into the digitizer itself, kind of like a teeter-totter effect. So you want to make sure to slide the card horizontally underneath the glass and not lift up too much. Otherwise, you'll end up with a broken LCD. If you heat the screen up too much, you're going to end up with like yellow or burn marks on the LCD. That's why I say heat the whole screen up uniformly. That way you don't concentrate the heat in one spot. and cause those burn marks. Anyway, go super slow. You know that feeling you get when you're driving down the road and you see a cop and you freak out for a second because you have no idea how fast you're actually going? You should feel that way during this entire repair. A little bit stressed out, anxious, nervous. You never know when the whole screen's going to break. Kind of like finals week of college when you haven't exactly been going to all your classes. Just kidding, Mom. I totally went to all of my classes. Like all of the days that there was class to go to, I was definitely there. Back to the repair, sliding the card underneath the glass still and up along the top. This piece of glass was connected to the frame of the phone still, but since we're so close to the edge on this one, I decided not to mess with the glass. Otherwise I might crack it along the corner. So I separated the glass from the LCD and just left it there. And I would deal with it later since it wasn't exactly connected at this point. This piece didn't allow me a whole lot of access to either, so I didn't lift up on it. I slid around, got this second piece off over here, and then went back to that one later. I know you'd rather be watching paint dry or grass grow, but this is extremely helpful to see the whole process done start to finish. So hang in there. While you're here, you might as well hit that subscribe button down below. It helps to keep me motivated making tutorials like this in the future. Also, check out my Instagram. I promise my life is not as boring as this video makes it seem. I'm going to keep on removing these itty bitty shards of glass. Lucky for me, my screen was pretty cracked up, so I can remove the glass pieces individually. I imagine if you just have one long crack or, several small cracks, it'll be a harder repair because you don't have as many access points. As you get close to the edge in the corners, be super careful because the screen, the LCD, and digitizer are more fragile along those points. And also remember to watch out for the ribbon cables up top. You really don't want to bend or tweak those or put any pressure on them at all. They are super fragile. Slide my knife along the edge of that frame to get the glass shards off. It really is amazing how well the frame grips the glass during this repair. It also is interesting to note that as you get rid of the glass, the phone actually cools down faster. So you'll find yourself heating the phone up more and more as there's less glass on the phone. It kind of retains less heat than it did when there was a full sheet of glass on top. Anyway, we are almost there. Give me a thumbs up down below if you've managed to stay awake this long. I promise the glass is almost off and we will continue with the repair. I'm going to show you the glue here in just a second. Now that the glass is off, this is the LCD. As you can see, it's pretty darn dirty at the moment, but before we start cleaning it, I want to make sure I'm not wasting my time, so I'm going to make sure that it still works. Plugging into the phone, slightly dangerous obviously. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Everything looks good so far. Make sure to slide things around a little bit, make sure that the screen's working. Obviously, if the screen's not working at this point, there's nothing you can do, especially if you've made sure the connections are good and everything. And you can just scratch repair, buy the whole screen, and put it back together again with a new screen on it. I'm getting the glass off of the old frame because we are going to reuse that frame with the new glass that we bought. Also, check the video description down below. I have replacement parts and tools listed down below. Everything that you will need for this repair will be there. So I'm taking a plastic pry tool and scraping the glue off of the glass. There's two little doohickeys up at the top. I don't know what they are, but they look important, so make sure not to scratch those off during your cleaning process. You're just going to take your plastic pry tool and just scrape all the glue off. You can kind of imagine it being similar to scraping sticky gum off of an eggshell, except for that if you break this eggshell, it will end up costing you a lot of money. So make sure you go super slow and be super careful. Remember that the corners are the most fragile part of this screen, so be really careful as you're working around the corners and the edges. Once you're done scraping all the major glue chunks off, you can take your alcohol and a rubbing pad and just kind of rub it around on the screen, and that'll get rid of a lot of the glue residue. And then you can take your pry tool and scrape off any remaining chunks. The whole process took me about 15 or 20 minutes to get the screen clean, and you can see here that minus a few scratches, everything is still working. The glue that I use will fill up the scratches on the phone, so you will not notice them once the new glass is in place, which is nice. Everything still works. Make sure you turn the phone completely off before you remove the LCD again. And here is the Loca glue. Loca is an ultraviolet activated optically clear adhesive. It's a very complicated name, but a very simple concept. I'm going to put the glue on, and you want to make sure not to use too much because it is a very hard to clean substance. It will stick on the phone and is just not easy to clean off. Plus, along the edges, if you get glue on the edges, it will discolor your LCD. So you want to really make sure that no glue gets on the edge of your phone. You can see at the end of this video, my LCD did have some seepage inside, and you can see the discoloration and the mistakes that I made towards the end. So right now I'm just going to set the glass on top of the screen, and this is real time. It's not sped up or slowed down. The reason I'm doing it so slowly is because as the glue touches the glass, you want to make sure that no air bubbles get caught inside of there, because the air bubbles are hard to get rid of. So you really just want to go slow and make sure that the glue is going in one straight line and not grasping all the little air pockets. So the moral of this story is to go slow. Kind of like this video is a fairy tale that you'll watch every night before falling asleep. You know, slow and steady wins the race. I should probably write like a children's book or something. It would probably put everybody to sleep. So this will make your life a lot easier if you use a mold like this. You put the LCD in, put the glue on it, and then it'll put the glass exactly where you want it on top. Now for this video, I'm not going to use a mold. Just keep in mind that you want to line it up with both the left and the right sides of the screen, keeping it the same distance on either side. And also keeping in mind that if you mess up even half of a millimeter, your phone's not going to line up with the old frame that you took off of your old screen. So now that I have it positioned over the LCD so that you don't see the LCD anymore, I'm putting the UV light over the glue, which is causing it to cure or dry. Without the UV light, the glue would stay liquid. So I put it over for about 10 seconds or so, lifted it up, and I'm doing any last minute adjustments to the LCD that I need to. Since I've adjusted it, I'm going to glue a little bit more, which will dry the glue a little bit more and allow me to do any more adjustments. Granted, if you were using a frame for the phone or like a mold, you wouldn't need to do this. Since the screen is in the exact place where I need to, I'm going to go ahead and cure it the last time for about 2 or 3 minutes, and it should be dry. Now here's another mistake. As I was cleaning off the glue, I would kind of like force the glue into the LCD on the sides, causing the discoloration that you see in the end of this video. So make sure that you avoid getting glue on the sides of the LCD at all possible. It will definitely save you some time and headache later. So with the frame of the screen, you want to use some double-sided sticky tape, and you want to use some permanent stuff, because this screen does need to stay very, very securely attached to the frame. Without it, your screen will lift off. Granted, if you have a case, that would help keep your screen attached to the phone as well. So I would recommend putting a case on after you get this baby put back together again. If you need to see how to put your screen back together again, go ahead and click the link. It's the same one you clicked on at the beginning of this video. It'll show you how to put the home button and earpiece and the whole phone back together again. And here you go. You can see the slight discoloration at the top and the bottom of my screen. This is from the glue seeping into the LCD. Other than that, the phone worked really, really well. The LCD wasn't lined up perfectly with the frame, but it's usable. So if you were to buy a mold and if you were to keep the glue from entering the LCD, this would have been a perfect repair. Anyway, hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. I hope you liked the video. If you like what you saw, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like it. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you around.